introduction and application of chromatography in genetic engineering. As we know that the living organisms or any cell contains hundreds and thousands of distinct biomolecules, and some are larger in size. For example, protein, nucleic acid, lipids, polysaccharides, etc. Whereas some other molecules are smaller in size, like monomers of polymers, components of complex metabolic pathways. Some of these molecules may be present in a large amount, that is structural proteins, and may be present in the traces like intermediates of metabolic pathways. Some of the molecules are synthesized transiently during the cell cycle as a metabolite, and some other are present approximately at constant level. Means when we separate a protein or extract a compound from a cell, there will be plethora of compounds, right? So during the genetic engineering, what we do is we produce a protein of interest, and the main problem with this genetic engineering is recovery of this produced protein, that is protein of interest. And the one approach which is used for separating the individual protein or protein of interest from the host cell, that is synthesized or expressed in a host cell, is by chromatography. That is why this topic has been given as an introduction and application of chromatography and genetic engineering. So originally this technique was used by Mikhail Tsvet in 1903 for separating the pigments. Later on, the two scientists, Martin and Sinch, developed the theory and practice of the chromatography. For that, they have been given the Nobel Prize of Chemistry in 1952. They actually developed the paper chromatography in 1941. Martin actually described the chromatography as the uniform percolation of fluid through a column more or less finely divided substance, which selectively retard by whatever means certain components of fluid. That is chromatography. So according to him, that is chromatography. So actually this chromatography word is derived from Greek word chroma means color and graphy meaning writing. That chromatography means writing of color, because initially it was used for separation of pigments, separation of different pigments and textile dyes for the textiles. So initially these chromatography technique was used for by artists, color theorists, artisans to split perfect industrial dyes for textile. But later on, this chromatography principle is applied in other laboratory techniques. For example, this techniques is used for the for example, this electrophoresis, in which proteins and charged particles like nucleic acid are arranged as per their molecular weight and charge under influence of this we can say electric charge, right? So the principle of chromatography, in this technique, a mixture of interest is dissolved in a substance and called as a mobile phase and transported through a second substance called stationary phase. and thereby components of the mixture can be separated from another based on their different speed of travel. Actually, the principle of this chromatography, the principle of chromatography is based on the partition or distribution of molecules between two immiscible phases, right? One phase is called stationary phase, which is made up of liquid-liquid or liquid-solid phase, and the molecule mixture may partition between these phases depending upon their solubility and depending upon their degree of adsorption. Actually, this yes, actually this when the molecules of mixture are compounds of mixture is applied to a stationary phase, this liquid-liquid or liquid-solid phase, the molecule mixture may partition between the two phases. Actually, these two phases may be liquid-liquid or they may be liquid-solid. Due to their relative interaction, their relative solubility, or their degree of adsorption of the solid phase, means due to their relative solubility in the liquid-liquid phase and due to adsorption or degree of adsorption on the solid liquid phase, the molecule get separated. This is the basis of chromatography. This chromatography actually depends upon the distribution or partition of the molecules between the two immiscible phases, and this is measured as distribution or partition coefficient. This distribution or partition coefficient is actually a ratio of the concentration of molecules between stationary phase and mobile phase. So when the mixture of molecule is applied on the two-phase system, either it is liquid-liquid or solid-liquid phase, there will be differential distribution of molecules depending upon their solubility, depending upon their adsorption, and that is why their movement is retarded. Their movement is differential in both the phases, and that results in their separation on the stationary phase. So this K, that is partition coefficient, is affected by some experimental conditions like temperature and polarity. That is why if the temperature and polarity is changed, the separation of the molecules can be optimized, right? Means we can say the for the optimization of any analyte, these experimental condition may be changed, like temperature, like solvent polarity. Now the types of chromatography. The types of chromatography, the chromatography can be divided into several types depending upon the several classification. First of all is on the basis of depending on the material on which the chromatography is done, or on which or in which the stationary phase or matrix is fed. For example, paper chromatography, in which chromatography is done on the filter paper, right? Likewise, it may be depending upon the material, it may be thin layer chromatography or it may be column chromatography. Likewise, depending upon the solvent in which the mixture of analyte is dissolved, this chromatography may be liquid chromatography or gas chromatography. In the gas chromatography, the molecule to be separated or mixture to be separated is vaporized and passed through a gas system or column which is having a mixture of inert gases like nitrogen or helium. Means this nitrogen and helium act as a stationary phase, whereas the vapor act as a mobile phase. Means this difference between liquid phase, liquid chromatography and solid chromatography is liquid and gas chromatography is on the basis of solvent used for the solubilization of the molecules or mixture to be analyzed. Third type of chromatography is depending upon the polarity of the mobile or relative polarity of the mobile and liquid phase, right? When the this liquid this one phase is polar and one phase is mobile phase is non-polar and like a stationary phase is polar. This is called as normal phase. And when the polarity of the stationary and mobile phase is reversed, that is the mobile, this stationary phase becomes the non-polar, and the mobile phase becomes the polar. That is called as reverse phase. When the mobile phase is supplied with the pressure, it is called as high performance or high pressure chromatography. In addition to that, the chromatography can be divided into different modes depending upon the property of the stationary phase, that is matrix, and that determines the mode of chromatography. That includes gel filtration chromatography, ion exchange chromatography, and adsorption chromatography. So first we will start with the thin layer chromatography. This thin layer chromatography is simple, sensitive, fast, and inexpensive analytical technique which is routinely used to separate lipids, alkaloids, amino acid, nucleotides, vitamins, drugs, etc. In this type of chromatography, a plate of glass, aluminum, or plastic is used, and which is covered with the hydrophilic compound, that is silica gel, alumina, or any other hydrophilic material. Then it is activated in the oven at 80 degrees Celsius. Then a sample line is marked at the end, one end of the plate. In this way, right? So in this way, this sample line is marked on the Dr. Anil, cursor दिख रहा है ये?
Yes, sir. But sir, actually, this is not in the slide sharing mode. So the participants, they are feeling difficult to visualize. Achha. But on the computer, it is visible what you want to show, this sampling line.
Should I change the system? It will take 5 to 10 minutes, I think.
Please click on the slide sharing mode, so it will be shared.
No, sir. Actually, Dr. Pandey has some problem with his computer. That's why the slides are not coming in the slide sharing mode.
It is visible as a slide sharing mode in my system, but it is not shared as such. Oh. When I make it a full view, it is visible as a full view in my system, but it is not.
Then you can do, sir, one thing. You can just log out and log in again. So okay. I think it will be solved.
Dr. Anil, should I do
yes.
or continue?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so I will stop sharing here and log out first. So next is column chromatography. The column chromatography is most powerful method for fractionating protein and other biomolecules, which exploits the advantages of charge, size, binding affinity, and other properties of the material. And in this technique, a porous stationary phase is packed into a glass or metal column, and a mobile phase percolate through it. The stationary phase is either coated onto discrete small particle, this is called as matrix, or it may be packed into a column or applied as a thin film, that is called as this microboard type. The mixture of analyte is when applied. When mixture of analyte is applied on the top of the surface as a narrow band, and the mobile phase is percolated through the solid matrix, this mobile phase moves as a ever expanding band and separates the analytes present in the molecule of mixture. Because of and this separation occurs due to their differential partition coefficient and distribution coefficient, as well as their property of the stationary phase. Finally, the molecules are the different molecules are eluted as a eluent. So basic components of column chromatography includes column, stationary phase, mobile phase, injector system, detector, and recorder. The column, depending upon the type of chromatography, the length, size, and material may be different. In liquid chromatography, the columns used are generally of plastic or stainless steel and having length of 25 to 50 centimeter and having internal diameter of 4 mm. Whereas in gas chromatography, mostly the glass or stainless steel columns are used, and it is having length of 1 to 3 meter long and internal diameter of 2 to 4 mm. The stationary phase in the columns may either be filled, right? And it is called as conventional type of this column, whereas in some conditions it may be layered as a thin film inside the wall, and this is called as microboard type. This microboard type is also called as open tubular column, and that may be wall coated or it may be porous layered open column tubular columns. Then the stationary phase, which is filled in the chromatogram, these columns are selected on the basis of mode of chromatography, means which kind of mode is used for the chromatography. It may be gel filtration chromatography, then gel is used, means Sephadex or anything. And if it is affinity chromatography, or it may be ion exchange chromatography, so the stationary phase is selected on the basis of this mode of chromatography. Also, it may be selected on the basis of analytes to be separated. If analytes are to be separated like this non-polar compounds, then it may be this reverse phase chromatogram can be used, and like that. So stationary phase is either coated on discrete small particles and packed into the column, or applied as a thin film inside the wall. The mobile phase used in the column chromatography is either singly used, that is called, means the samples loaded on the columns may be eluted by two types of, we can say two modes of mobile phase. One is when we use a single type of elution with a single mobile phase, it is called as isocratic elution. When we use a multiple mobile phase, this is called as gradient elution, and depending upon the number of mobile phase, it may be binary, tertiary, or quaternary gradients. In open column chromatography, the flow may be achieved by gravitation, or it may be used by simple peristaltic pump. When the binary, tertiary, or quaternary gradient elution is done, these solvents are mixed in a mixer before it enters into the column. So these peristaltic pumps are used for mixing as well as pumping of the solvents. This is actually part of the liquid chromatography. And another part of the column chromatography is injector system that delivers the test sample to the top of the column in reproducible manner. Then another component of the column chromatography is detector or recorder, which detects the presence of analytes in the eluate as emerges from the column. These detectors may be of different types, that may be on the basis of absorbance, on the basis of fluorescence, on the basis of refractive index, or electrochemical or any other physiological, physicochemical measurement. This fluorescent and refractive index type of detection is thought to be or said to be very sensitive, and it is used in the analytical chromatography. The peak represented during the recording represents a separated analyte. Means each peak in the graph represents one analyte, separated analytes. And the plot of detector signal versus retention. This is called as retention volume. And this retention volume and the peak signal of component is called as elution profile. Then final is fraction collection. This fraction collector actually collects the separated analyte, that is separated peaks from the eluate, and that may be used for further biochemical studies. Then come to the individual type of this chromatography. Number one is gel filtration chromatography. As we know that the biomolecules differ in their size, molecular size and molecular shape. The gel filtration chromatography uses this variation of the mass and shape for separating the biomolecules. And that is why this gel filtration chromatography is also called as molecular sieve or size exclusion chromatography. Actually, in this chromatography, the biomolecules are retained of a given size range, and they are fractionated according to their mass. That is why these are called as gel filtration chromatography. And this is possible because the stationary phase employed in this phase, is having small size of beads, which is having a particular size of this pores inside the beads that allow only small molecule type or small range of molecule allow the enter into the beads. That is why and this range of molecule which enters into the beads or pores, that is called as this cutoff value or exclusion limit. A variety of different stationary phase are commercially available. As we know that this Cefadex and Biogel and so on. We are having a list in the next slide, I think. This one. So there are so many types of these gels are available. That is Cefadex, that is actually Dextran, Cephorose, that is Agarose, this Cefacryl, biogel, superdex, fractogel, etc. So this the stationary phase of in this gel filtration chromatography is actually made up of gel consisting of insoluble, highly hydrated polymer beads containing pores of defined and narrow size. Right? These pores actually allow the biomolecules enter below a particular size to diffuse into the beads called as exclusion limit or cutoff value of the stationary phase. So what happens? The smaller molecule is having a liquid or fluid accessible, more fluid accessible, and that includes the fluid present outside the beads as well as beads present in the inside the beads. Whereas larger molecules are having less fluid accessible, and that is why they move faster through the gel as compared to these smaller molecules which are having the larger volume of fluid accessible to them. So the smaller molecule will be retarded in the gel filtration chromatography as compared to larger molecules. So the larger molecules will elute faster as compared to this smaller ones. So this gel filtration chromatography is having three kinds of application. First is it is routinely used to remove low molecular weight components. For example, it is most commonly used to dissolve the protein solution. By passing the samples, a protein sample through a column of Cefadex like G25 or G10, which is having a fractionation range of 1 to 5 kilodalton. So what the molecules having the smaller size than 5 kilodalton can enter into the pores of the gel beads. That is why their movement is retarded. Means the protein molecules, most of the protein molecules are having the size more than the 5 kDa. That is the cutoff value of the Cefadex 25. So what this protein will not enter into the pores, so they will elute first. Whereas the salt molecules will enter into the pores of the gel, so it will elute later. Likewise, this gel filtration chromatography is also used to estimate the molecular mass of the protein. Actually, what the fractionation range, the fractionation of the molecules through this gel filtration chromatography is directly proportional to the void volume or elution volume with the logarithm of the molecular mass. So what? First, the standard proteins are run through the gel, and the this elution volume is calculated. Then with this elution volume and the standard protein of standard molecular mass is plotted onto the graph. Then finally an unknown protein is eluted with the same column, and the elution with the elution volume, the molecular mass is calculated. Finally, this third application of this gel filtration chromatography is purification of protein. Actually, this method depends upon the mass of the molecules, and it is used to separate the protein based on differences in their mass. But there is a limitation. What the limitation? The sample volume should not be more than the 5% of the bed volume. So this separation of protein based on the differences in their mass should be used in the end of the purification strategy as a polishing step. Means these gels can differentiate between the proteins on the basis of molecular mass when they are in the fractionation range of the molecule, the gels, right? Otherwise, it will not be fractionated on the basis of molecular mass. So next type of chromatography is ion exchange chromatography. This, as we know that protein are having net charge at a given pH. It is due to presence of charged amino acids which are having charged side chains. For example, the proteins, the amino acids are the acidic amino acids are negatively in charge at pH 7, whereas this basic amino acids are having positive charge, right? And they impart the charge on the proteins. When proteins are present in the acidic medium, they are positively charged. When they are present in the alkaline medium, they are having negative charge. So this ion exchange chromatography uses this property of charge of the molecules for the separation of the protein molecules. And this is kind of adsorption chromatography. In this chromatography, the charged proteins or other biomolecules are exchanged for small ions of like charges originating in the salt molecules. So actually, these ions, actually sodium chloride, so this what is written here is sodium chloride. This sodium chloride is ions are attached to a chemical structure on the surface of a stationary phase called ion exchange group or ion exchanger. Actually, there is an ion exchanger group and it is attached with the opposite charge molecules of the salt. When the molecules or protein molecules is passed through this stationary phase, this the same charge molecule will replace the ions of the salt and it is attached to the stationary phase, and other molecules will be washed out with the buffer. So depending upon this exchanger or exchange group, this ion exchange chromatography or ion exchangers are of two types. One is an ion exchanger, which exchanges the negatively charged ions, whereas another one is cation exchanger, which exchange the positively charged ions. These ion exchangers are attached to a wide variety of solid supports such as cellulose, agarose, and vinyl benzene. These exchangers may be of strong type or may be of weak type. Actually, depending upon the pH range, the exchangers which functions best within a large pH range is said to be strong ion exchanger, whereas the ion exchanger which acts or behave or best function in a small pH range it is called as this weak exchanger. So exchangers with quaternary amino or sulfonic acid groups behave as a strong anion and cation exchanger respectively, while aromatic aliphatic amino or carboxylic acid group are weak anion or cation exchanger respectively, because they function best in the narrow pH range. These are some examples of exchangers. The cation exchangers are sulfopropyl, methyl sulfonate, carboxymethyl. This carbomethyl is a weak cation exchanger, whereas the sulfopropyl and methyl sulfonate is strong this cation exchanger. In anion exchanger, quaternary ammonium is strong exchanger and quaternary aminoethyl is strong exchanger, whereas diethyl aminoethyl is weak exchanger. So in column containing positively charged diethyl amino groups, For example, DEA cellulose or DE Cefadex are used for separation of negatively charged proteins, that is anionic protein, and that is called as anion exchange chromatography. Likewise, the columns containing negatively charged carboxymethyl groups such as CM cellulose or CM Cefadex are used for separation of positively charged proteins called cationic proteins, and this is called as cation exchange chromatography. Actually, in ion exchange chromatography, the proteins or samples to be separated are loaded onto the this anion exchanger, and the same charge molecules will replace the salt ions, and it will bind to the ion exchanger. If it is an ion exchanger, the anionic protein will molecules will bind to the exchanger, and other proteins or other molecules will be washed away with the buffers. Then this bind proteins will be eluted by changing the condition. It may be eluted by increasing the concentration or gradient concentration of sodium chloride, or it may be exchanged with the changing with the pH of the elution curve, right? But sometimes the elution with the extreme pH will cause denaturation of protein, and there will be loss of biological activity of the protein purified. In that condition, what the proteins are eluted by in denaturation conditions using 4 to 7 M urea. That urea is cheotropic agent that denatures the protein by decreasing the hydrophobic interaction within and between the molecules, as well as it denatures or it hydrolyzes the hydrogen bond between the protein subunits. So if the biological native protein condition is to be achieved, or biological condition is to be achieved with the purification by ion exchange chromatography, then the this cheotropic agent like urea should be used, because this urea is not having any kind of charge, so it is not going to bind to the ion exchangers. So neither gel filtration chromatography or this ion exchange chromatography alone is capable of achieving complete purification of the protein. However, since it is very unlikely that two molecules or two protein molecules are having same net charge as well as same this molecular weight or size, that means combining these two approaches can often achieve the impressive purification, that is gel filtration chromatography as well as ion exchange chromatography. The next is affinity chromatography. As we know that there is a remarkable characteristic of many proteins and biomolecules is their ability to recognize and bind specific molecule tightly but non-covalently, and this property is called as affinity. And the purification of protein based on their affinity with some molecules is called as affinity chromatography. In this affinity chromatography, a molecule which specifically bind to a molecule of interest is used, which is called as ligand. And this ligand is covalently attached to an inert and porous matrix, as shown in this diagram. This is matrix, this is a spacer molecule, this is ligand. This ligand molecule specifically binds with this target molecule. That is why this is used for separation of some of the proteins. These are some ligands used for affinity chromatography. The enzymes can be separated by using substrate as ligand, inhibitors as ligand, or cofactors as ligands. The biotin containing enzymes can be recovered by evident antigen by antibodies, immunoglobulins by antigen or protein A and G, receptor binding or binding proteins by hormone, GST fusion protein by glutathione, glycoproteins by soybean lectins, poly A mRNAs by oligo-DT, and poly-uRNAs by oligo-A, and likewise rRNA by lysine. So in this technique, when impure solution of this protein to be purified is loaded onto the matrix of affinity chromatographic column, only desired molecule bind to the immobilized ligand, whereas other substances are washed away through the column with the buffer, right? And these bind molecules of interest can be eluted by changing the condition, and that results into recovery. The purified molecules are separated with retaining full biological activity, often in a single step. Sometimes in chromatography matrix, the affinity chromatography must be. An important aspect of this technique is immobilization of ligand on the matrix. The ligand is attached to a matrix that is chemically inert, highly porous, and having large number of functional groups capable of forming covalent linkage with the ligands. And this ligand should contains functional group for making the covalent linkages with the matrix. And this, for that, this NH2 group, amino group, or thiol group, carboxyl group, or hydroxyl group is said to be important. The when this agarose is used as a matrix, it contains hydroxyl group for making the covalent linkages with the this ligand, and it should be activated before attaching the ligands. But sometimes many proteins are unable to bind to their cyanogen bromide coupled ligands due to steric interference. Actually, what sometimes the size of the protein is very large, so there will be steric interference when the cyanogen bromide coupled resin is used as a matrix. So in that condition, a special kind of commercial resin is used, which is called reactive epoxy or epoxy activated resin. And this epoxy activated resin is attached to a agarose with a spacer group of 12 atom, and it is called as reactive epoxy group. Then this ligand is attached to the reactive oxygen group. Now, because of this spacer group, the larger molecule can be attached here on the ligands. When this protein samples or unpurified protein sample is loaded onto the affinity chromatography, the proteins are bind to the ligands, and impure proteins are washed away with the elution buffer. So to elute the protein, the solution, elute the protein, the condition of the elution buffer is to change so that the binding ability to the ligand is completely washed. So, but what I mean, sometimes the compound or the proteins or compound to be separated is having very high affinity for the protein binding site, so that the elution become very difficult. So in that condition, what is to be done? is to alter the solution conditions such that the protein ligand complex is no longer stable. For example, by changing the pH, ionicity strength as well as temperature. But here, the care should be taken that the pH should not be so extreme, because if the pH becomes so extreme either in lower side or higher side, the proteins become denatured and their biological activity will be lost. So in that condition, again, see the same elution condition is applied, that is using the chemotropic agent like URI. Sometimes what happens, the contaminants bind non-specifically with low affinity with the affinity chromatography column. In that condition, the affinity chromatography column is washed with the 200 millimole sodium chloride solution after the loading of the sample. So this is about affinity chromatography. The another type of this chromatography is immobilized metal affinity chromatography, that is also known as metal chelation affinity chromatography. This is actually derived from the affinity chromatography, and that is created as an alternative approach to the use of GST fusion expression system. In this technique, the bivalent metal ions such as copper, zinc, calcium, nickel, and iron are immobilized on the stationary phase by chelation process, so that the metal binding regions of the protein or biomolecules bind to this ligand. In this immobilized metal affinity chromatography, this immunodiacetic acid is used, which chelates the this bivalent ion by binding with the 1 nitrogen and 2 oxygen molecules, because of which binding or chelation, the 3 side for the chelation remains free. So when proteins are immobilized and proteins having histidine, cysteine, and tryptophan amino acid, they can make a coordinate complex with the metal ions, and they are chelated on the bind to the matrix. The metal as group specific ligand. In this type of this chromatography, what happens? This metal act as a group specific ligand, means it will bind to the same kind of monomer. So the specificity of the separation of the protein is achieved by elution, changing the condition of the elution buffer, that is change in the pH, that is change in the gradient. So proteins bind best at the IMAC stationary phase at the neutral or alkaline pH value and in presence of 0.5 to 1 m NaCl. A metal in the this IMAC column may be stripped from the stationary phase and this treatment with the EDTA and replaced with a different matter. So whenever we want to replace the ions with another ion, the ions present in the column is stripped by the EDTA and then again replaced by another matter. This elution, after the loading the sample, the elution is usually achieved by either decreasing the pH of the gradient or by displacement with the electron donors such as imidazole. During this elution, the mobile phase, the care should be taken that mobile phase should not contain the primary or secondary amines, especially around neutrality. right? And this IMC column is basically used for the purification of proteins expressed in bacteria by genetic engineering as histag system. It will be discussed later. So next one is reverse phase chromatography. As we know that the molecules are differ in their mass, shape and surface charge. In addition to that, the molecules also differ in their surface hydrophobicity, right? And even the molecules, soluble molecules, are possess regions of hydrophobic characters in their structure. And these hydrophobic structures is determined by the primary structure of the proteins. The neutral amino acids actually possess or exert the hydrophobic characteristic to the molecules. So in the this reverse phase chromatography is actually partition chromatography, in which hydrophobic groups like hydrocarbon chains are attached or immobilized on the stationary phase. And these hydrophobic chains are vary in the size. It may be C4, it may be C8, and it may be C18. The increasing the chain length of the carbon chain of this hydrocarbon will increase the hydrophobic nature of the column, and this increase in the hydrophobicity will be used for separation of peptides, whereas less hydrophobic molecules will be used for the separation of these proteins. So proteins, but during the reverse phase chromatography, what happens? This is eluted with the increasing the gradient of towards the non-polarity. Means it is eluted by gradient elution by using the water and acetonitrile as a elution buffer, with changing the gradient from water towards the acetonitrile. Means hydrophobicity of the elution buffer is increased. Because of this increase in hydrophobicity, most of the time the proteins get denatured when they are eluted or purified by the reverse phase chromatography, right? So this is the main disadvantage with the reverse phase chromatography. This when this sample is applied to the reverse phase column, the polar molecules will move faster as compared to non-polar molecules, because these non-polar molecules are interact with the hydrocarbon chains present in the column. Next one is hydrophobic interaction chromatography. This hydrophobic interaction chromatography is used for basically for the separation of proteins, right? This is again based on the same as reverse phase chromatography on the basis of hydrophobicity. So what happens? The proteins are soluble due to presence of the charge over the surface of proteins, as well as water film over the surface of proteins. And this water film is called as solvation cell. And this solvation cell actually cover up or mask the hydrophobic group present on the surface of proteins. So in presence of reagent that are capable of finding of water from the solvation cell, like ammonium sulfate, that disrupts the solvation and exposes their surface to the hydrophobic groups. Now these hydrophobic groups can bind to the hydrophobic compounds present on the columns. So in this hydrophobic interaction chromatography, the hydrophobic molecules or weak hydrophobic molecules like phenyl or octyls are used or immobilized on the matrix. So in presence of in presence of high salt condition, so in presence of high salt condition, what happens? This water film is removed from here and these hydrophobic portions are exposed. So these hydrophobic portions can interact with the hydrophobic portion on the column and they are immobilized. So by this reverse phase chromatography, or sorry, hydrophobic interaction chromatography, because the interaction between the hydrophobic interaction between the stationary phase and the protein molecule is weak, and elution is carried out by the weaker mobile or this hydrophobic mobile phase. That is why the protein recovered from the hydrophobic interaction chromatography contains its native structure as well as biological activity. That's why this hydrophobic interaction chromatography is selected over the reverse phase chromatography for the separation or isolation of proteins. It's the same as I told. See, the illusion during the hydrophobic interaction is achieved by the use of hydrophobic displacer molecules such as non-ionic detergent Triton X100, aliphatic amine, butylamine, or any aliphatic alcohol. The eluents are gradient of aqueous buffer. That's why progressively reduces the weak hydrophobic interaction. And these hydrophobic interaction may be decreased by decreasing salt concentration, or because the hydrophobic interaction is strengthened by increasing ionic strength, or it may be increasing the concentration of detergent or increasing the pH. Therefore, this hydrophobic interaction chromatography separates the native proteins according to their degree of surface hydrophobicity. Same as the reverse phase chromatography, but conditions are so weak. Now the application of chromatography. As we know that the for isolation or separation of the protein of interest, the source of the tissue or source of the protein is identified, that is tissue or cell type. But what the proteins are synthesized, some of the proteins are synthesized in very low abundance, or some of the proteins are synthesized transiently for short period of time in a cell cycle. These proteins may be difficult to purify in enough quantity for structural or functional analysis using the natural site of expression as a starting point. That is why the better alternative to this problem is to clone the gene of interest for the protein and to express the protein in a suitable expression vector. So it is the most valuable application of genetic engineering, that is synthesis of large quantities of natural or modified proteins in a host cell such as bacteria or yeast. In general, in this technique, the expression of protein, this foreign protein is carried out in a expression vector, and these expression vectors contains some of the components or these sequences which is essential for expression of a protein, in addition to the coding sequence of the protein. Coding sequence for expression of protein that includes this promoter, ribosome binding site, T sequence, antibiotic resistant gene, and origin of replication. The major snag in this approach means genetic expression of protein by the genetic engineering is the purification method, which is very laborious. And to overcome this problem, the two kinds of methods, the two important methods are used for separating the protein molecules from the host cells. The number one is the protein. Just a minute. Okay. First, the molecule, this gene of interest is cloned in the vector and it is expressed in the host cell. Then his host cell is multiplied or cloned, and then the protein is recovered from this host cells. So the basic snag or basic problem with this technique is that separation or purification of this protein of interest, produced protein of interest from the plethora or different kind of molecules present or protein molecules present within the host cell. So for that purpose, two important systems are used, that is this expression systems are used, in which the protein of interest, the gene of protein of interest is fused with another protein that is either beta galactosidase or this glutathione as reductase for efficient separation of the protein from this protein of interest from the other proteins. Another method is that the gene of interest is tagged with a sequence which expresses the polyhistidine sequence. So because of these two type of expression system, the protein can be efficiently recovered by affinity or immobilized affinity chromatography by glutathione S transferase, or it is immobilized on the metal chelation chromatography. So the binding by this method is independent of three-dimensional structure of the protein. So recovery is very efficient, and even under strong denaturation condition often required the can be separated, and it is often required for the separation of membrane proteins on inclusion bodies. So the first method is purification of cloned protein in a GST fusion protein expression system. In this system, what happens? The protein of the gene of protein of interest is fused with another protein that synthesize a protein that specifically bind to the GST protein, right? And this glutathione is immobilized on the columns, or we can say affinity columns. So when this protein mixture is passed through the columns, this fusion protein selectively binds to the affinity resin GSH agarose that facilitates the removal of E. coli proteins. So what this protein is synthesized in this way, this gray part is the actual gene or protein of interest, and this and then it is passed through the column which is having GSH, reduced glutathione. So what happens? This GST is bind with the GSH by affinity, having the affinity. So other proteins of the cell is washed away with the buffers. Then this is eluted by changing the elution condition by changing the pH or salt concentration, and this fusion protein is separated. Then this fusion protein is cleaved with the protein of interest by reacting with the thrombin, which cleave the protein of interest with the GST proteins. So finally, it is again eluted or passed through the column, which separates the simple pure protein. So it is the GST fusion protein expression system. Another fusion system is immobilized metal affinity chromatography system, that is for metal binding protein using chromatography. In this system, it is the same system in which the protein of interest is synthesized as a fusion protein with the sequence of this polyhistidine, and it is at the N-terminal end, and it is having 6 histidine residues, right? Once this protein is the protein mixture is separated from the host cell, then it is passed through the column, this His-Tec IAMC column. Then what? The protein having a His-Tec sequence bind with this nickel, and other proteins, unbound protein, will be washed away from the column. Then this protein bound His-Tec proteins are eluted by changing the condition, and the purified protein molecules are recovered. Actually, this His-Tec protein does not affect the activity or reactivity of the protein, so that it can be used as such. But sometimes it may be reduced, it may be removed by this enterokinase enzyme. So this His-Tag is removed from the native protein, and it is again passed through the column, so the purified protein is recovered, as shown in the figure. This is His-Tag end, and this is pure protein. It is cleavage site for the enterokinase. When it is passed through a column, the this His-Tag bind to the metal ions, and other non-His-Tag proteins are washed away with the columns. Then finally, this by changing the condition or changing the pH, this His-Tag proteins are recovered. Then it is treated with the enterokinase to delete or remove the His-Tag portion. Then it is again passed through the column for recovery of the pure protein. So this is end of my presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a nice talk. So the session is open for discussion. Any participant have any query, they can ask.